What's going on, guilty guys and gals, and welcome to this video. And in this video, we're going to be ranking Danganronpa characters by how good they are. Their power levels, so to say. What their rankings would be on the back of their sports card or whatever. The basic premise behind this is, I'm going to try to find out who the top 16 students would be locked in a killing game. Best chance that they would survive and make it out, right? Because we always make it out because it's a game and we have to be able to win. But in a realistic version of Danganronpa, there's a really high chance that you're going to fail one of the trials eventually, right? So which are the best set of students in order to guarantee survival? And originally when I did this, I sort of did it my own sort of usual wishy-washy way, where I was just like, oh, well, Nagito, he's got ultimate luck, so he's obviously super good. Problem with that, though, is that he's obviously not super good, because he causes most of the murders in Danganronpa 2, right? So instead I've come up with a 5-point system. It's pass or fail. You either get a point or you don't. The 5 categories we have are talent. Is your talent useful in surviving in the killing game? Mikan's talent as the ultimate nurse, pretty useful. Something like Korekio's anthropology, probably less useful. Agreeableness, as in your ability to work together with the group. So Makoto, really high. Byakuya, no. Intelligence, your ability to know facts and such. So for this, Korekio might have a pass, but somebody like Makoto might not. Strength, which, strength has been very important in Danganronpa most of the time. There's a lot of things that you can do with strength that are important in class trials. And let's just say it's a good thing to have when you're facing up against a bunch of other people who want to kill you, right? So if you've got the strong person who's super agreeable, like Sakura, you're good. And then finally, emotional stability. And this is the one I put in there because sometimes good people, like, this is a weird example, but Teru, might do bad things when under stress, right? And Danganronpa is certainly stressful. So somebody like Teru probably wouldn't have a pass on emotional stability because, he commits murder to escape. So yeah, let's get started. And I put it in order according to my notes. So we are going to start with Makoto, who has 3 points. And I know I said as the example he might not pass in intelligence, but he gets points in talent. Ultimate luck is broken. Agreeableness, because yes, he wants to work with the group. And intelligence, because he's not smart on a lot of fact stuff, but the fact that he can basically make his way through every single class trial and solve it means he's got some sort of high intelligence. So 3 points lands you in the B category. You see how that's going to work? So 5 points is an S. Spoiler alert, there's only one character who makes it here, and you'll be unsurprised as to who it would be. Alright, so let's move on to Kyoko, who has a 4-point total. Because not only does she have talent, ultimate detective, super good in a killing game scenario. If somebody does murder, you need to have somebody to be able to figure it out. She has intelligence, quite obviously, because, same, they go together. She has strength. She's shown to do, a lot of... She's I can't remember the scene I had in my head when I was doing this, but there's one scene. Oh no, my old formula is starting to slip back in, where I just go, and then think for a long time. But I think I was just mostly thinking about her physical endurance, because somebody like Makoto, obviously he gets winded easily and he's like, ugh. But Kyoko keeps her cool even when under physical stress. So that's probably what I was thinking, I hope. And then obviously emotional stability, because she only really freaks out when her father is mentioned, and who knows if that's even going to be a factor in this optimal killing game scenario, right? So yeah, she just doesn't win out on agreeableness because she hates working with the group for the most of the game. Byakuya gets a whole 1 point. And you know what it is? It's intelligence. He's not strong. He freaks out a lot. He doesn't work with the group. And his talent of being a rich dude, that doesn't help anybody right now. Aoi. Aoi gets 3 points. Strength is an obvious one. For being the ultimate swimmer, your endurance is much higher than an average person. Emotional stability, that's a little bit of a weird choice for Aoi, but I kind of have to give a little bit of leeway because the only reason Aoi has this emotional instability moment is through a very specific set of circumstances, right? She's not like Tero where no matter what, his mother is an issue. And for the most part in the game, she is like pretty focused and well adjusted in the scenario for what's going on anyway. And then of course agreeableness because she does work with the group. Hiro. How many points do you think this guy gets? 1. For what is that? Yeah, he gets 1 point, and that's agreeableness because for the most part, he doesn't like get in people's way. He's just incredibly unintelligent. His talent doesn't help because it's kind of wishy-washy. Like, sure, he can predict stuff, but sometimes he doesn't even know he's doing it. Intelligence, obviously no. Strength, obviously no. And emotional stability, obviously no. All you have to do is say, like, oh, Hiro, there's a person, like, that final trial moment when he's talking about Kyoko being a ghost just proves he doesn't have that on lock. Okay, so next up is Toko. And for characters that are 2 people, well, I guess Toko is the only one that really fits that bill. I guess you could argue like Korekyo or Hajime, but I'm ranking Hajime as 2 separate characters because they have no interaction with each other. I'm just gonna say that what I did is I gave them both ratings and then averaged them out, which means Toko ends up with like 1.5 points, I think. Yeah. It's kind of hard to read because it's kind of my writing isn't perfect, but I think that's what we're getting at here. So Genocide Jill has strength, Toko does not. That's why she has a 0.5 point. But they both have intelligence because although Genocide Jill doesn't like remember everything Toko does, that doesn't mean she doesn't like have, I don't know. I guess she could have 1 point. You know, I'm going to drop it to 1 point because I don't think Genocide Jill really has intelligence. She just has one important fact that kind of seals the deal, right? So she can hang out with Byakuya. She'll be happy about that. For having 0.5 points in strength and 0.5 in intelligence for her 2 sides. Obviously, agreeableness isn't helpful. Her talent doesn't really help at all. Like, I guess it could. Like, she knew about Fenrir, but that's more intelligence than her talent. And then emotional stability is an obvious no. Sayaka time. So Sayaka gets 1 point, and that 1 point is, what is it? Oh, it's agreeableness. Duh. She betrays the group because of emotional instability, but she does have agreeableness points. So there we go. Leon gets 2 points. That might surprise some. Leon gets strength and talent. Ultimate Baseball Player doesn't seem like it would be super useful, but in very niche scenarios, it is very useful. Like, the ability to, like, throw things far doesn't seem super applicable, but I mean, the game itself shows you how that could be useful. And if they were going to have to escape the school, there's a lot of ways in which being able to move something a long distance could actually help. Plus, he gets a point in strength, obviously, for being an athlete. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but it's definitely more useful than something like these guys' talents in the D tier. So I think that's why I probably bumped him up 1. Next is Chihiro. Chihiro is very important. Chihiro is just as important as Kyoko. And that is because the programmer talent, we saw how useful that was. Alter Ego, like, not only saved Makoto's life, but pretty much saved their entire lives. in the process. Not only that, obviously very agreeable, works with the group. There's no denying that. Very intelligent as the ultimate programmer. There's no denying that either. Oh, sorry, I got confused. And then emotional stability. Emotional stability might seem like a weird thing for Chihiro because the entire basis of their character is being kind of emotionally unstable. But in the scenario they're in, they're pretty emotionally stable. You know what I mean? Okay, I hope there aren't any Mondo fans out there because Mondo also only earns 1 point. Strength, obviously. Mondo's not particularly intelligent. It's not particularly emotionally stable, as we see during the killing game. Not only when he does the murder, but also when they're just talking to Monokuma, almost gets himself executed by kicking Monokuma across the gym, punches Makoto at some point. He's got anger issues, so that can lead to problems, obviously, in this scenario. And then his talent is a biker gang leader. I would give the point for being a mechanic, but we have the ultimate mechanic, so we know that I don't feel like that's fair. So there Mondo sits with the rest of them. Next is Taka, and Taka gets 3 points for agreeableness, intelligence, and strength. We see how ripped he is in the sauna scene, so Taka is surprisingly strong. Probably because he just has some regiment that he follows, workout regiment. He's obviously smart because he devotes almost all of his time to studying. And he is obviously agreeable because he wants everybody to get along. He's not particularly helpful with his talent. Following the rules isn't really helpful at all, especially when the rules tell you to murder each other. And emotional stability is a bit of a meh because, the dude's got some issues to work out. Next is Celeste. Celeste gets 2 points. This is because she is intelligent. Nobody can deny that. And she does have a useful talent. The ultimate gambler talent, for what most of it isn't very useful. But lying is actually really useful. Being able to deceive the mastermind is usually what allows them to escape, right? Whether it be deceiving Junko so they can get more information, or just, figuring out when people are lying. It's a very good talent to have, and although the rest of Celeste's stuff about being good at cards doesn't really help, the lying aspect and her being able to pick out people's lies is actually very helpful. Next is Ifumi. Ifumi gets 0 points. I didn't even make a category for that. Oh boy, hold on. Add row below. Oops. Oops. Now, the reason he gets 0 points, his talent of drawing manga, not helpful. Not agreeable, doesn't work with the group, only with Celeste, and Celeste might not be in the final pairs, which, if you look at the board right now, there's a good chance she's not going to be. Strength, no. Intelligence, no. And emotional stability, no. He's persuaded into killing someone on a whim over a computer program. So I think emotional stability is a 0 for this guy. I think that's the only person with a full 0, because I didn't even when I was glancing over this, see that there was one. So sorry, Ifumi, but you're the worst at everything. Sakura gets 4 points, on the other hand. Now I'm all messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Sakura is strong. Sakura is agreeable. Sakura's talent as a fighter is also useful. And Sakura has pretty good emotional stability. Not intelligent per se, we see when she's talking about protein powder will help you heal your wounds. Not really how that works, but otherwise, just very useful to have around. Just as somebody to, like, enforce peace, if you wanted to put it that way. Yeah, Sakura's good. Sakura is important. And then I think... Oh no, we have 2 more for DR1. I forgot about that I put Junko on there. I was thinking about not putting the Mastermind characters on there, but I thought, we'll give it a go. Mukuro gets 3 points. 2, 3. Mukuro's strong. Mukuro's smart. And Mukuro's talent as the ultimate soldier is also very good. One of the very convenient things that happens in every Danganronpa game is the murderer is never seen committing their crime. But in the case that the murderer was seen, Mukuro would be the best person to send in to disarm them, because Mukuro has never lost a fight. So I think that's good enough of a reason to say that her talent is important. And then there's Junko with a measly 2 points. She is smart, and her actual talent, not the fashionista one, the ultimate analyst, it's basically like Celeste's talent usefulness on steroids, right? Because it's basically mind reading powers is the way that Danganronpa presents it. So, that's pretty good. But she's definitely not agreeable, not strong, and not emotionally stable. Just look at her sprites. She's got like 7 different personalities. Anyway, we are moving on to SDR2 now. And starting with Hajime, who gets a measly 2 points. Hajime has no talent, so I couldn't really rank a talent ranking for this guy, so he has to get a 0 in that. He is very agreeable, and he's very emotionally stable. So, Fujiko also has 3 points. He wins in terms of strength, as, he's a fighter. Strength is kind of a general term, like it relates to also endurance and capabilities in like combat, which is why, like, the ultimate swimmer might be there despite not being able to like lift big weights. Endurance is almost more important in this scenario. And he also wins in emotional stability as well as talent. So those probably both need explanation. In terms of talent, being a mafioso is useful because he has knowledge on dead people, how people die. Sort of the same way as Kyoko works. Like, Kyoko would have information on how to study a crime scene that other characters wouldn't have. Fujiko would have information on dead bodies that other people wouldn't have. It's very similar to the way Toko would, except that Toko, Genocide Jill, kills in a very specific way every time. So while I guess she has some knowledge on dead bodies, it wouldn't be as big as Fujiko's, you know what I mean? Because Fujiko's seen people killed in various ways, I'm sure. We never really hear about it, but that's because, Fujiko, he doesn't like it. Still, that talent, still pretty useful. Emotional stability, you might be thinking, well, what about Pekko? But even when Pekko is there, which isn't a guarantee in this scenario, because remember, we're sort of pulling 16 random characters out. Even when Pekko is there, he still doesn't want to kill anybody, which is basically what emotional stability is about in this case. Do you have enough emotional stability to not think, well, I guess I'm going to kill somebody to escape here? And Fujiko didn't want that. Pekko did, though. So, when we get to her, Nagito is next. Nagito gets a fat 2. Right beside Hajime. He'd like that, too. So Nagito, his talent is obviously broken. If I was ranking this on talents alone, Nagito would be at the top of the list. He'd be in like God tier above S tier, because his ultimate luck is just broken. There's no other way to say it. But in this scenario where it's a little bit more balanced, ultimate luck, yeah, that's worth a point. He's also got a lot of intelligence. Like, he figures out the trials before anybody. But the things that drag him down is obviously he never tells anybody it. So, no points in agreeableness or emotional stability. Like, Nagito and emotional stability are like, ice cream and spoiled milk. You wouldn't eat them at the same time. Next is Pekko. Pekko gets 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Right beside Fujiko. Now, where Pekko loses out in emotional stability, she gains in talent. No, she gains in agreeableness. Fujiko is not willing to work with the group at the beginning, and without Pekko's sacrifice, there's no reason to believe that would ever change. Pekko is willing to work with the group, even if it is a front. So that's their 1 point in difference. They both have strength, obviously, and their talents both allow them to know about dead bodies. And Pekko, in particular, would have a specific knowledge on bladed weapons, which might be useful if that's the murder weapon. So yeah. Not bad, not great. Actually, you know what? That literally is like getting a B on your report card, having 3 points. Because getting S is like getting more than 100 almost. Teru. Well, he gets 1 point. His talent, that's the only thing he gets points for. And the reason for that is that good food was shown to raise the morale of the group. When Teru went away, they actually felt the difference of not having that amazing food anymore. It's a weird thing to gain points for in this scenario, but being able to cook good is actually, you know what? Good enough for moral support. Next is Mahiru. I promise this isn't nepotism. Mahiru gets 4 points. Now, being the ultimate photographer, why would you get a point for that talent? That's useless. Not when you're documenting crime scenes, I'm just saying. I know that Mahiru isn't the only person with a camera, but she's the only person who comes with the camera right away. Miyu gets a camera from the storehouse, but that's only in that one scenario. And Ifumi has a camera, a disposable, it's not a disposable camera, but it's like a toy camera almost, that appears in the third trial. But if he wasn't in that scenario, there's no reason to think he'd keep the camera. For some reason, Mahiru gets to keep her camera, which makes her infinitely more useful, because she can take photos of the crime scene, and then maybe everybody could investigate, and you wouldn't have to leave somebody on guard duty, because you could see the difference in the crime scene and know what they changed. Also, very agreeable, maybe a little bit mean-spirited towards the boys, but she does want to help everybody more than anything else. Smart. She did figure out a good part of an important part of the trial that she was around for. I can't remember which part it was. I do remember she did, though. I think it was the light fixtures part, where Nagito had to follow the cord to the lamp. I could be wrong, but she did figure something out in the trial. She was helpful in the trial, anyway. And she does know about the world, which is more than you can say for a lot of these people. And then we have emotional stability, because she never loses it and tries to murder people. So, that's good. Next we have Ibuki. Ibuki gets 2. Ibuki, she gets points for agreeableness, she wants to work with the group, and emotional stability. Because Ibuki also never has a freak out. Ibuki, might feel bad about the murders or whatever, but she never freaks out about almost anything. She's always cheery. So there's something to be said for that, I suppose. Next up is Hiyoko. Yeah, Hiyoko gets 1 point. Big surprise. Talent is not useful. No intelligence. No strength points. No agreeableness points. Only emotional stability. Because Hiyoko just is set in her own ways. Nobody can change that. even though she starts to change, but then gets murdered. So, what can I say? Next is Mikan, another very important character, but she does only get 3. The reasoning for that is her strength and emotional stability, not great. Obviously, strength is not good, but emotional stability with Mikan is also not good. I am heartily convinced that even without the despair disease, Mikan would have contemplated murdering somebody just because of her background and the way she was being treated. And now, like, with Hiyoko not there, would that be the same? I don't know. She'd easily fit into Toko's role if she was in a game with Byakuya. But even if there wasn't somebody picking on her, I still think her emotional stability wouldn't be worth giving a point to. I think she'd be easy to persuade into murdering somebody. But her talent, super useful. Ultimate Nurse, knows about bodies. It's very helpful and can help treat people. Which, again, if this was talents alone, she'd be S tier. Agreeableness, she does want to work with the group for the most part. And intelligence for being basically a doctor. She's got to know a lot of stuff. And I think it's fair to give her high intelligence points. You know what I just realized? It should be F. Because then it's like a report card. The only person who gets S is the person who, like, somehow made it through the report card. Actually, I'll put it to A+. Not A equals. There we go. Anyway, back to the list. Where even was I? We're on Akane. So, Akane gets 4 points. One of the big guns. Akane has an important talent. Gymnastics, being able to, like, jump very high. It doesn't seem super useful, but the same way as Leon's, like, in certain scenarios, it'd be extremely useful. Like, even just, like, if the killer threw the murder weapon on top of a roof so nobody'd see it, maybe Akane could get up there when other people couldn't. Also, like, we see that she's got strength, and that alone is also important for her talent. And fighting ability, for some reason, which is, I guess, thanks to her talent. I'm just going to chalk it up to that. She has agreeableness. She likes to work with the group. Not intelligence, but emotional stability. Even when Nekomaru dies, she barely does anything. And strength, obviously. Maybe she should have done something more about Nekomaru dying, like, emotionally, to process it, but she didn't, so I guess she can get a point for that. Nekomaru, surprisingly, also gets 4. Agreeableness is probably his biggest strength, but, like, his talent also gives him a lot of, like, leader capabilities. Being, like, the coach dude, the dude that, like, cares about the team, it could be very useful in a scenario like this. The fact that he never takes charge is actually kind of weird. And then strength, obviously, agreeableness, yes, we talked about, and emotional stability. He's willing to put his life on the line for his friends, but he's not gonna murder somebody. He won't do it. Next is Gundam, who gets 2 points. Gundam's talent is not helpful. There is almost never animals in any of the places where these are held because they would be obviously disruptive to the events. He has his 4 Dark Devas, his hamsters. And I guess they can press buttons, but other than that, I don't know what they'd be useful for other than, like, sapping away on food stores. He's not particularly... Oh man, I lost his name. Where is he? There he is. He is extremely emotionally stable. He doesn't, like, freak out, and he's willing to quote-unquote sacrifice himself for the group in Trial 4, even though that trial is a little bit convoluted and it doesn't really make any sense. But he does do it. So I doubt he would have murdered people for any other reason, you know, other than to save the group. So I think that gains a point. He doesn't have any particularly, like, noteworthy strength. No, wait. He doesn't have any noteworthy strength or intelligence, yeah. He's decently agreeable. Like, he decently works with the group, even if he is annoying. And he is pretty emotionally stable. So he's alright. Next is Sonia. Sonia, surprisingly, also gets 4. For maybe more unorthodox reasons again. Agreeableness is high, intelligence is high, she studied a lot to be a princess. Emotional stability is high, even when Gundam dies, she doesn't go crazy. But her talent is also very useful, specifically for the things she has studied. She knows many languages, for example, which if they're in the case that somebody spoke a different language, which for some reason never happens in Danganronpa, because they're all pulled from one academy, I guess. But in the scenario that there was things in another language that she could translate, like for example, the books in the library in V3, nobody can read them because they're in like Latin or something. Maybe Sonia could. She knows a variety of languages. She also knows how to like read maps, which isn't something everybody knows how to do. And just like the other stuff she was taught for her ultimate princess talent, surprisingly come in useful. Also, she's just got a different mindset because of it. Like, having somebody on the group who can think a different way, and maybe a more unorthodox way, could be useful too. Although that's like the bottom of the usefulness parts of her talent. The languages thing is really the top. Next is Kazuichi, who gets a flat 2. His talent is really good. Like, being able to fix machines is almost on par with Chihiro's being able to program things. But he doesn't like working with the group. He's always like paranoid about working with the group. He is intelligent. Like, he's a closet nerd, which kind of makes sense. Like, you can't be like a engineer mechanic without being a nerd. I'm sorry, engineer mechanic dudes, and ladies. You're nerds. It's not a bad thing. I am too. Look at me. I'm making a tier list on Danganronpa. But yeah, emotional stability meh, and strength also not great. Next is the ultimate imposter. Imposter's talent, I actually gave him 2 points, but I'm going to move it up to 3. Because having the ultimate imposter on your side could be actually really useful. Again, in fooling the mastermind. It'd obviously be useful for murder, but they never use that in the game. It's kind of a wasted plot point. But being able to trick the mastermind by thinking, oh, this person's over here, when in fact they're over there doing something useful in order to gain information, could be good. The ultimate imposter is also very agreeable. He takes on the leader role in Danganronpa 2, which is important. You need somebody to rally the group together so they don't fall apart and start picking each other off. And emotional stability is pretty high. Like, the dude never freaks out. And he has basically no reason to. Like, there's no, like, extended circumstance for why he would need to kill to escape. So, he seems pretty good. Next on the list is Kaede. So we moved on to V3 already. Whew. Kaede gets 2 points. Penis talent? That's not helpful. She has a lot of emotional. She has emotional stability and agreeableness as her 2 points. You might question the emotional stability thing because she kills, but she does kill to protect others, which is basically on the same line as Nekomaru taking bullets for people in Gundam as well. So it kind of makes sense that they could be in the same group. And then, yeah, her agreeableness, she wants to help the group more than anything. So I think it's fair to give her a point for that. Next is Rantaro, who also gets 4 points. Now, we don't see much from Rantaro, but what we know about Rantaro actually gives him a lot. The only thing he loses out on is strength. The reason for this is he's the ultimate survivor, quote unquote, because he apparently survived the prior killing game, and sacrificed himself for the group to do so. So we know that his agreeableness is super high, even though he doesn't work with the group because of what he was told in the beginning of the game. Outside of that circumstance, his agreeableness would be super high, and his emotional stability would be as well. He wants to help everybody get out, just like Kaede. He's essentially just like Kaede, but with weird information. Now, he also has a pretty good intelligence. Like, he made it to the end of a killing game. That means he had to have either been helpful in solving the cases, or just kind of like helped other people do it. So one way or another, he's helped them. He knows a lot about a lot of things, it seems. Not only because he has insider info, but he's traveled the world. So there's something to be said for that. And that's why I think I ranked his talent as well. Actually, you could put that either way. Thinking of his talent as being like the ultimate globetrotter or whatever, adventurer, I think it is. That's helpful because you know about stuff from all around the world. It's, he might know multiple languages. We don't know. But thinking of him as the ultimate survivor, that means he has killing game experience, which is just as helpful. So one way or another, he gets the point for talent. And yeah, levels up to 4 points. Next is Shuichi. Shuichi is like a slightly less useful Kyoko when you just like boil it down. Because Shuichi doesn't have the emotional stability that Kyoko has. He goes off the rails multiple times during the trials. And his specific problem with finding the truth in the early game is really bad. It kind of almost negates his talent in a way, right? He learns to move past that because of Kaede's death, but without Kaede in the scenario, who knows what would have happened? Maybe he would have been the least useful detective ever. That seems like the most likely case, so I can't really give him the emotional stability points. But he gets 3 for intelligence, agreeableness, and talent. Next is Himiko, who gets a nice 2. So Himiko's talent, that's not useful. I guess you could say it like fitting or like finding hidden doors or something maybe, but even then that's like a very, very specific circumstance. Like she doesn't find the hidden door in V3 anyways, Shuichi does. So I think it's fair to say her talent isn't like useful. Agreeableness, yes, and emotional stability, yes. But everything else, not really. Tenko gets 4 points. Being an athlete will get you a long ways on this list. So Tenko's got fighting abilities. We've said multiple times that that's actually very useful. Whether it be fighting to escape or just fighting off somebody who might be a killer. It's just a good thing to have. It's a good talent in this kind of scenario. Agreeableness is high. Tenko likes to work with the group. Emotional stability is pretty good too, because Tenko never would kill somebody, like from what we saw. And sorry, strength is high because she's a fighter. You could argue agreeableness. I could see that. Like, I feel like Tenko is somewhat below Akane just for her extremist hate of men. Like, that could lead to some disagreeable scenarios if there was a lot of men in the top of the list and they were put in the group. But even then, she doesn't like specifically maliciously lie to try to get men killed or whatever. So I think it's fair. She'd be annoying, but not like evil in that scenario. Next is Angie. Oh wait, I found another one. Angie gets 0 points. Angie's talent as an artist, that doesn't help. Angie's got no agreeableness points. She works against the group's interests for a large part of the game. And even before she does the whole cult thing, she's still like not helpful. She doesn't help. She just kind of stands around and talks about stuff. Her intelligence, there's no reason to believe she has anything like any important knowledge. Strength, no. And emotional stability, she's pretty crazy, so I would say no. So yeah, Angie gets 0 points as well. Next is Korekio. Korekio gets a whole 1 point for intelligence. Everything else, I think you know why. Next is Gonta. Gonta gets 3 points. Gonta gets points for strength, emotional stability, and agreeableness. Not particularly intelligent, obviously. And, like, what is it? Entomologist? I think that's birds. But his bug studies, that wouldn't really help. I wouldn't count his eyesight like being able to see tiny bugs, I would not count that as part of his talent. I would count that more as part of his like physical ability. So fits in with strength. Kokichi. Kokichi gets 2 points. Same as Nagito. Same sort of reasons. But slightly different. No, I think that's actually the same. Kokichi gets points for intelligence. Kokichi figures out most of the cases before anybody else does. So it's only fair. And talent, because being whatever the hell he is, he's basically the ultimate liar. That's what I'm basically counting his talent as. And his ability to pick out people when they're lying is just as helpful as when Celeste does it. So there we go. Next is Ryoma, who also gets a solid 2 points. Ryoma gets a point for agreeableness. He's willing to let the group kill him to survive, so the idea that he would kill somebody to escape is kind of unthinkable. And a point for strength, because he is an athlete. However, being a tennis athlete doesn't really gain you any special abilities that would be helpful. Like wrist dexterity, that doesn't really help in a killing game. Maybe to pass the time, if you know what I mean. But other than that, so yeah, I can't really say much else. Next is Kirumi. Now Kirumi, where is Kirumi? There she is. 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Kirumi gets 3 points because her talent is actually useful. She's called the ultimate maid, but really she's basically a spy. Like a movie spy, not like a actual spy. So she's got like crazy like acrobatic abilities almost, and like the ability to do a lot of stuff. Also, if Tera gets a points for cooking food, then Kirumi should as well. She gets a point for intelligence because she's an intelligence agent, essentially. She's also quite smart. She can figure out stuff in the trials. And strength. Again, for being basically a spy. Next is Maki. Maki gets 3 points as well for almost the exact same things, honestly. Her talent is assassin. She knows about killing. She knows about dead bodies. She might be able to help with an investigation that way. Strength, obviously, and emotional stability, because she doesn't really work with the group, but she also doesn't really freak out. And if Kaido's never like part of the equation, then there's no reason to think that she ever would go off the rails. So yeah, she's basically like Kyoko minus agreeableness, or no, minus intelligence, like enhanced intelligence. Kaido gets a 4. That might also seem weird, but Kaido gets everything but talent. Kaido is agreeable. He works with the group. He's strong. He works out all the time. He's an astronaut, so you know he has to be smart. He's a scientist, actually. He just never shows it. So he is smart, and he obviously has emotional stability, because even when he knows he's dying, he still tries to help the group. So that's pretty neat. Kibo also gets 4. We got a lot of 4s coming up now. Kibo gets everything but strength. Because, like, in this very specific scenario, he has his lab, he can pick up his enhancements or whatever and be strong. But in a regular scenario, he does not have that, and he's designed to be weaker than an elderly person. Specifically so he can't hurt anybody. Which does add into his, like, agreeableness, emotional stability thing, because he couldn't hurt people if he wanted to. And then his talent as being a robot, it's useful. He has a lot of useful functions. Like, the flashlight eyes alone are pretty good. Or no, it's flashlight, like a chest beam. But the voice recorder is almost more useful. Because if Kibo's, like, walking around the halls and he hears people talking about murder, he can record it and play it during the class trial. And that would be super helpful. And then I think I've said everything. Intelligence. Kibo figures out trials quite a bit, actually. It's a surprising amount for how much he, like, almost doesn't exist in the game. Next is Tsumugi. Tsumugi gets 1 point. It's for intelligence. It's kind of unfair because she designs the game, but she does figure out the... she does help the group figure out certain cases. And she's obviously smart because she put together this entire killing game scenario. So she's got to have some sort of brain in her head. But everything else, she's not really trying to help the group. And her cosplay powers don't work like the imposter's talent because she can't use them to cosplay real people. So she can't trick a potential mastermind and try to escape. And then there's Miu, our very last character, who gets a solid 1 point as well. Miu, she knows tech. Her talent is useful. Otherwise, not really helpful for the group. So, I know what you're thinking. Hey, didn't you say there was an S tier character? Where's the S tier character? Well, the S tier character is right here. Izuru Kamakura. Name a more broken character than Izuru Kamakura. I think this will actually be better so you can see. Sorry, this. He has every talent, so there's no reason to believe he hasn't got points for strength and smarts. Emotional stability, he doesn't even have emotions to be unstable. Agreeableness, Junko persuades him to do whatever she wants, essentially. So, yeah, he agrees with people, and talent is all talent. So what can you say? That's Izuru Kamakura. That's our only S tier character. So we're going to count him out because I think it's a little bit unfair. And also, we're going to imagine him as like our mastermind of a killing game because it just makes more good that way. He's like that broken character that gets banned in tournament. He's like the Meta Knight Brawl of this tier list. We're just not going to include him for reasons of that. So, next we get to sort of sort out which characters should be the top. So obviously everybody in A tier makes it. We have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. So we get to pick 5 people from B tier who we want to move up into the next tier. Which I think should definitely be Mikan. I think Mikan deserves it for sure. I think Shuichi would be a very good idea, considering, you know, more detectives the merrier. I'm gonna move up. I get 5. I'm gonna move up Kirumi for the moral support as well as the like ninja skills. We've got a lot of physical people, so I feel like we can leave Mukuro out. We'll take... I kind of want to take Makoto. Which would be more good? I think I'm going to take Pekko for her specific area of expertise. Which none of these other people really have. Like, she's our dead bodies person, other than, like, these two, the 2 detectives. Whoops. Because they're sort of like that, but not really. And then it's kind of between Makoto, Aoi, and Chiaki as, like, you know what? I'm going to go with Chiaki. I think that fits. Hold on, let me add a... called B2 or 1B, sure. Just move these characters down into that so that it's not confusing. And yeah, that's our killing game roster. Kyoko, Chihiro, Sakura, Mahiru, Akane, Nekomaru, Sonia, Rantaro, Tanko, Kaido, Kibo, lots of Ks, Mikan, Shuichi, Kirumi, Pekko, and Chiaki. So yeah, if you were stuck in a killing game with these people, you'd have the best chance of surviving. Now you know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please leave a like on the video and subscribe, because I do stuff like this every now and again. I'd be interested to know what you guys think would be your top 16. I feel like I did a pretty good job being like unbiased and making my points for these characters. However, maybe you think that some of the characters in B tier should have been here instead of the characters I chose from B tier. Like, Fujiko's gotta be there, dude. Fujiko, he's important. Or Makoto, how could you leave Makoto out? He's got ultimate luck. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Thanks again. I will see you next time. Bye.